Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. A Canadian newspaper says the government of India is using visas as a foreign interference tool. It says Canadian visa seekers are being asked to sign letters denouncing Khalistan. Now, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has been saying the same thing recently. He accused Indian envoys of threatening to withhold family visas as part of a clandestine and coercive effort to collect information. Well, it seems two can play at the game because as far as 2010, Canada has been doing the same to Indians who've asked for visas to travel to Canada. And today we're going to talk about whether visas are a fundamental right and the role of reciprocity in international relations. Reciprocity is, of course, the principle by which a state grants benefits and rights to another state only if the other state grants the same treatment. Joining me to discuss this on the News9 Plus show today are Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Ambassador KP Fabian, and Ranbir Singh Khatra, former IG Punjab Police. I also have with me my colleague Deepak Badana in the studio. Abhijit, over to you first. Is the Indian government doing what you've said for months that they should have been doing? Denying visas to known Khalistani activists? Why this outrage in Canada right now?
So Sandeep, you realize both of us are having trouble keeping a straight face because it seems anything the Indian government does these days is a foreign interference, right?
Yes.
Apparently ANI even carrying the Canadian High Commissioner walking out of the MEA constitutes foreign interference according to their parliamentary investigation.
Right.
Now we need to remember the CBC and CTV are completely weaponized in Canada.
Yes.
They've been weaponized by Khalistani interests who are extremely well organized.
Right.
And all of this is being done in a coordinated fashion to take away from the one foreign interference report that counts, that remains classified to this day. And anybody who is given access to the report cannot talk about that report. And that is most overwhelmingly about actual Chinese money coming into Canada.
Right.
First thing is the diversion pattern where they will figure out foreign interference in everything except where there is actual foreign interference out there.
Right.
Also, because the power of declassification lies with the serving government, they will never declassify it because it will go against them. We need to keep this at the back of our mind. Second, I just want to read out what any Indian passport application does.
Yes.
Declaration that you're meant to sign. The applicant owes allegiance to India's sovereignty, unity, and integrity, not the citizen of another country, and etc. etc. The very first clause out there, and the declaration of your passport page, very specifically mention that you owe your allegiance to India's sovereignty and integrity. Now, how could you be an overseas citizen of India if you don't hold that?
Right.
How do you get a visa when you are expressly calling for the destruction of the Indian state?
Yes.
So this is essentially, this is like saying America is interfering in the internal affairs of Syria and Iraq because they're not giving Al-Qaeda members visa. You see, when you apply for an American visa, there is a whole bunch of things that they ask you. Have you ever been involved in drugs? Have you ever been involved with a terrorist organization? Have you ever been involved with anti-Semitism or any Nazi organization? The terrorist organization is important out there. Now, if you have attended a WSO or SFJ protest, they are both classified as terror organizations out here. You have had contact with them. How is it that India doing it is wrong, but America doing it is perfectly fine?
Absolutely.
Even the Canadian visa application includes this about Nazis, unless, of course, you invite a serving member of the Waffen-SS to your parliament and give him a standing ovation.
Right. Absolutely. So, well, do as we say, Abhijit, not as we do. Ambassador Fabian, is India doing to Canada what Canada has been doing to Indians for the longest time? You've been envoy in Canada at possibly one of the worst times in the 80s when the so-called Khalistan movement was at its peak. How did India respond then to this prospect of giving visas to Indians who were living in Canada who had ties to this Khalistan movement?
First of all, visa is not a fundamental right.
Absolutely.
Visa is something which a state can grant or deny. At the same time, since we all believe that the whole of humanity is one family,
Yes.
the states are supposed to impose reasonable restrictions, not unreasonable.
Right.
So that is point number one. Now, you asked me about what is happening in the 1980s when I was there. We were giving visa to Canadian passport holders of Indian origin. And of course, those who had publicly propagated pro-Khalistani views,
Right.
we might not have given visa to them. But subject to that, we were giving visa, because why do we give visa? Because quite often, it is family reunion.
Yes.
And I distinctly remember that in the instructions which came from the MEA, there were cases where the parents were Indian citizens, but the children were Canadian citizens.
Right.
Young children who were born there and all that. Now, there were instructions that in some cases we should refer to, but I had told the ministry, and the High Commission in Canada took the line that there is no need to refer to the ministry as far as children are concerned.
Right, right. But Ambassador Fabian, sorry to interrupt you, but were there allegations of foreign interference made on you when you denied visas back then in the 1980s to Canadians who had ties to the Khalistan movement?
No such allegations were made by anyone.
Right, but here it says very clearly that Indian officials and agents have been using visas to pressure Canadians to carry out tasks that further the agenda of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. And I want to go over to Ranbir Singh Khatra, who's retired from the Punjab Police. Mr. Khatra, tell us your experience back in 2010 when you applied for a visa to go to Canada. What did the Canadian government really ask you to sign off on?
My requirement for Canada visa rose. I was a golf playing player.
Yes.
And Punjab Police in Wisner City, that is near Vancouver, the World Police and Fire Games were to be held.
Right.
And I was supposed to be representing Punjab Police in the golf team.
Right.
And when I applied for the visa, first time I applied in the month of, I think, 2009,
right,
before 6 to 8 months prior to the games. So they gave a my visa was denied when I asked them what happened.
Right.
Then they gave me a 2-line message. The message read, you have served in areas where human rights have been violated.
Right.
So that was the reason. Subsequently, in 2009-10, I think in one of the news channels, this thing, I was not a singled out person.
Right.
When I learned from other people, many others who served in Punjab's disturbed area, that is Tarantaran, Majita, Batala, Belt, and some persons, paramilitary officers who had served in J&K, they were all denied.
Right.
And in those TV interview, when one of the foreign ministers, if I don't remember, Penny, and they were on the panel, and it was discussed. At that time also, my stance was very clear.
Yes.
I told them, I wanted to visit that country for this thing. And now when you are blaming that, firstly, there was no case against me.
Yes.
As a human rights violation.
Exactly. That's what I was going to ask you, Ranbir Singh ji, that there was no case against you, but simply for the fact that you had served in an area that was disturbed, your visas were rejected, and repeatedly. And there's been a pattern to this. Over the last couple of years, any law enforcement official, paramilitary forces, military officials who've served in J&K and Punjab have been denied visas.
My reply to them at that point of time on TV only was that I am not a mercenary. I am not a member of militia. I am not a member of those organizations which are into all this terrorism and all. If I have served in Taran or Batala or Majita or in, I am an army officer also in J&K, that I was a member of a force which has been initiated, which has been incorporated by an act of the Parliament of Government of India, that is Indian Army Act, BSF Act, or the Police Act.
Absolutely.
This was my thing.
Yes. Yes, Abhijit, you made that point earlier about simple, allegiances to Nazi organizations. You have to declare that upfront. But here you have the Canadians over 10, 15 years deliberately targeting members of the Indian security forces for just simply having served in areas where which were disturbed and not denied visas. Isn't that does that not account for interference in India's affairs, internal affairs?
Well, if you apply their standards to them, that is absolutely interference in India's affairs. They will, of course, claim that this is being done on human rights grounds.
Right.
The problem is they regularly violate their own policies.
Right.
The rule of law in Canada is a joke. Remember, Niger had applied for asylum 3 times, lied on all 3 applications, got rejected. And then, surprise, surprise, one fine day by a stroke of the pen, in spite of violating Canadian law, he is given his refuge and finally citizenship out there. Right. Let's also not forget that when the issue of that SS Waffen guy being invited to Zelensky's address in the Canadian Parliament became an issue, a report found that in violation of Canada's own rules, about 1,000 former SS Waffen men had been given citizenship in Canada.
Yes.
Some of them had actually been gas chamber operators.
Right.
And the Canadian government refused to name them and disclose their identities for their own protection, mind you.
Right, right.
This thing has now become an A-grade scam out there. What happens is, apparently the going rate in Punjab, Sir can probably elaborate on it. It is 5 lakhs is the going rate. A member of parliament apparently gives you a letter saying that you're being horribly persecuted out there.
Right.
There are truck businesses that operate out there just to receive you, give you a job and everything.
Right.
The other half, what happens is they go hang out in high crime neighborhoods.
Yes.
Hoping to witness a crime, hoping they get grazed by a bullet or something like that.
Right.
So that they can become witnesses. So you're basically suborning perjury, you're suborning illegal documents, you are suborning crime in India. How is that not foreign interference? When the Prime Minister comes and gives unwanted remarks on the farmers' protests in Delhi, how is that not foreign interference? So, they seem to have a very bizarre notion. What really gets me is this bubble they're in. हम करें तो चमत्कार, आप करें तो you know what.
Yes, absolutely. The bubble that Canada is in. But Deepak, a very elaborate form right here, visa application form that this Canadian newspaper, the Global News, seemed to have circulated, which actually asks the applicant to, condemn the cause of Khalistan. See, India doing what we should have done ages ago.
Of course, see, to begin with, we're not going to invite people here who actually denounce the, sovereignty of India.
Yes.
But beyond that, what I see is desperation on part of the Canadian government. Right. You see, the NDP with Mr. Chauhan, Mr. Jagmeet Singh, has already pulled the, rug from under Mr. Trudeau's feet.
Yes.
Now, as the elections come closer, in desperation, his party is going to resort to more such, allegations, time and again. What we must understand is that all of this is actually directed towards a domestic audience, a small minority which controls a lot of resources.
Right.
And it's that money that Mr. Trudeau needs.
Right, absolutely. It's all directed towards that small minority within Canada whom the politicians depend on for their support. But Mr. Ranbir Singh, yes, Deepak.
And if I may go out on a leg, You see, there are these cartels that are operating, they're trafficking humans and guns.
Yes.
And
drugs.
And drugs. Would it be a very far stretch of the imagination to understand, to believe that some portion of these monies are ending up in some election treasury?
Yes, absolutely. It's not too far to imagine that, given how closely politics is aligned with all of these bad characters. But Ranbir Singh ji, how is the cause of Khalistan being used, being weaponized by Canada to encourage illegal immigration into Canada? As Abhijit just mentioned, there are members of parliament who've been caught on camera enabling all of this. They say that for a certain sum, they will give you a certificate which says that you're being persecuted in India.
This thing is not a new, not a new phenomenon, right? So all through terrorism days, from 90 onwards, when the terrorism, this movement was on the wane, became its downfall, on its way down. So at that time, lot of people, the persons who were terrorists here, who were wanted, they were able to get visas into all these places.
Yes.
But subsequently, and at that point of time, certain MPs, these people, their letters, and some radical outfits in Punjab, their letterheads were utilized for this. But in the last 15-20 years, when this influx, a lot of this human trafficking, legal, illegal has taken place, there are many reasons for this.
Right.
Khalistan, one. But on ground, though the last 2-3 years the things are deteriorating, but last 10-15 years were quite peaceful for that way.
Yes.
But this onward of Biyadbi cases, 2015 onward, then this target killings coming in, then this Premi, the Dera Sacha Sauda, their followers, now they were all in line, and they were all lining up these visa centers for Canadian embassies and all that, consular generals, and getting free access to on this aspect that they are being persecuted here.
Yes.
And they were all getting, and in that garb only, many of these gangsters, these criminals, these drug traffickers, and these radicals, they were all able to get free access to these countries, and that's the reason now we are seeing all this.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we are seeing all this. In fact, Abhijit, we are seeing not just meth labs, but we are seeing meth super labs being set up in Canada of the size that we haven't even imagined. I thought it was, these were all like backyard operations, but these seem to have gone to industrial capacities. And they're all being run by people from, India. Bad apples, the rotten apples, this pipeline that's been set up between India and Canada, and all of them are going there and setting up drug labs and, gangs of Canada, Indian origin gangs. Is Canada really baffled at the prospect of India controlling who it lets through its borders, Abhijit?
So, when I was in Canada last month, Sandeep, I was asked literally nothing. There isn't even an immigration officer out there. It's a smart counter on which I have to scan my visa. It prints out something and you just literally wave it at the guard or whatever standing out there. No questioning, no nothing, and you just go in. Right. So first of all, their entry process itself is something of a joke. I was stunned that in a first world country, this is how you run your immigration. Second, we need to understand that the Sikh community there is caught in a very, very bad situation. I would say 60 to 70% of Sikhs want nothing to do with what is happening out there. The problem is the remaining 20 to 30%. Now, the way crime is normalized is to be glamorous. The first thing that you see is the abundance of rap culture out there, especially Punjabi rap, which is all about guns, drugs, women, sex, and all of that. Second, they control the trucking business, which has been the biggest vector for drug smuggling. They have now become the local franchisees of most of the South American heroin and cocaine cartels and things like that. The third issue has been two-tier policing. When a brown person beats up or kills a brown person, it's justified on the grounds of cultural relativity. It's perfectly fine. White person crime, not tolerated. Brown on brown crime, perfectly fine, because this is the way they are. So there is this permissiveness, there is this cultural acceptance, and what happens is it's exactly the way Jewish, Italian, and Irish gangs used to function in. When immigrants come from, say, rural Patiala or rural Ludhiana, they have no support structure. The boy can't even speak English properly.
Right.
They give you a job, but you have to carry on Khalistani flags. You have to politically do what they tell you to do. They've got their own fixes in the police and local departments to see to it you get sorted out. It is a closed community that you're exposed to out there. It is the exact same dynamics of late 18th century, early 19th century New York. It is a very dangerous dynamic, and there's nothing you can do.
Right. It's a dangerous dynamic. And Abhijit, a quick follow-on question to that. The new opposition leader who's tipped to be the Prime Minister next year, Pierre Poilievre, he doesn't seem to be any different either. It's he's wooing the same radical fringe that you just mentioned.
It's a bit of a mixed bag out there. Let's be clear. Pierre Poilievre is no Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper understood exactly what the problem is. Pierre Poilievre is better than Trudeau in some respects and worse than Trudeau in some respects. The better than Trudeau is the fact that he does not want to talk about identity politics at all, which, Trudeau is a complete race and ethnic and religious hater. Because Pierre believes that the moment he starts talking about these things, the election automatically becomes Trudeau's then. Trudeau can outplay him on all these ethnicity-related subjects. The downside is Trudeau knows how to weaponize all these Khalistanis and, Palestinians and things like that.
Yes.
Pierre does not. In fact, it is the Khalistanis who have weaponized Pierre.
Right.
If you look at the people he has chosen to surround himself with, all four of them are Khalistanis. There is a Hindu called Arpan Khanna, whose wife is a member of the WSO. He is the man responsible for the cancellation of the Diwali event, incidentally. There is Jasraj Hallan, who is an out-and-out Khalistani. He's probably going to become the next finance minister of Canada. He's already the shadow finance minister of Canada. There is the third, who is Param Gill, a cut sir, but rabid, absolutely rabid Khalistani. The problem, again, like Jasraj Hallan, is he is very sophisticated in the way he talks. And he talks about things which matter to Canadians while he pushes his own agenda, Khalistani agenda. The fourth is the one who's got the most exposure in India, who's also, unfortunately, I'm sorry to use this word, but the stupidest and most naive of the lot. But he has the most visibility, and his name is Tim Uppal. Right? So you've surrounded yourself by these four people, and these four people act as gatekeepers around Pierre Poilievre. They don't allow any Hindu MP, any Hindu interest groups or whatever to get near him. So in fact, Pierre might actually be worse for India if this if he continues with these four gatekeepers.
Right, absolutely. Gatekeepers to the leader of the opposition, who could be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Troubled times ahead for India, whichever way you look at it, Deepak. Ranbir Singh ji, I have to ask you this. Is it any surprise, rather, is it a shock to you that the movement that you worked so hard, you and your colleagues in the Punjab Police, let's not forget, it was the Punjab Police that actually eliminated this Khalistan problem that we had in India in the 80s and in the 90s. Is it a surprise or a shock to you to find that all of these slogans are now being, have become war cries in Canada? It's halfway across the world.
It's not a shocking for me, but a little surprise. But further, what had happened was, we were able to, police on ground was able to contain this, and containment happened for 15, after 95 Sardar Bhyan Singh assassination. For 20 years, the things were under control, and the things were moving. There was peace, there was development also, and things were coming to a calm. But definitely what has happened in the recent this millennium, that is from 2000 2001 onwards, the basic crux, and all these Khalistanis, mind you,
Yeah.
in Punjab on ground, there is hardly a minuscule 1 or 2%, not even that.
Right.
But definitely it has prospered in Western countries, Europe, UK, Canada,
Yes.
and America, and all that.
Right.
But this has been, but how they have got this fodder
Yes.
when they were unable to buy, when they were able to find boots on ground in Punjab.
Right.
But the recent, that is the drug menace, the unemployment, and the Punjab's crumbling financial and other fabrics, this has all led to the fodder being given to these Western countries.
Absolutely.
The flight of
Yes. Foreign
Flight of-
interference. Yes. Thank you.
Flight
Thank you
of-
very much, Ranveer Singh ji. I'm afraid we're completely out of time, but thank you for joining us as we're talking about the India-Canada visa wars. The fact that Canada is accusing India of weaponizing visas simply for not granting visas to people with suspect ties to Khalistani organizations. But thank you very much for joining us, Ambassador Fabian, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Ranveer Singh Khatra, and of course my colleague Deepak Badana in the studio here. Defeat is an orphan, they say, and this is true for India's grand old party, the Indian National Congress. It performed above expectations in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, but since then, things have been downhill for the party. It lost Haryana, it lost Jammu and Kashmir, and it lost Maharashtra. Now in Maharashtra, once a Congress bastion, the Congress won just 16 of the 101 seats it contested. And now the knives are out for the Congress within the India alliance. What do these reverses mean for the Congress in the months ahead, particularly in some very important state elections that are around the corner? Joining me to discuss this are Aditi Fadnis and my colleague Brijesh Pandey. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. Brijesh, I want to start by asking you this. Congress was on a high a few months ago after the Lok Sabha elections. They hit a 99, close to a century. But ever since, fortunes have been downhill. State election after state election, it's underperformed. Does that explain why the opposition is now ganging up against the Congress and saying you shouldn't be at the center of the India alliance?
Well, if you look at the India alliance, when it's formed, the person who kind of formed the India alliance understood the political reality and switched sides to the BJP, right. Which was Nitish Kumar.
Right.
But what has happened is that that if you look at Rahul Gandhi's situation, one is post June 2024,
right.
where the Bharat Jodo Yatra for the first time after a series of debacle gave hope to a new Rahul Gandhi who is not making gaffes, who is not making statement which is embarrassing the party. He's talking confidently, and this was perhaps the most effective re-avatar of Congress of Rahul Gandhi, which was effected by Congress party.
Yes.
The result came, the entire constitution narration, and when almost everybody thought that the BJP would be close to 350, they forced BJP to go to 240.
240.
It was the most
huge achievement. I think
stunning reversal, electoral reversal of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and assertion on the part of the Congress party when it got 100 seats or 99 seats.
Right.
So they became the totem pole of the entire opposition parties gallivanting towards themselves.
Right.
But what has happened? But this situation was only till the result of Haryana.
Right.
After Haryana, there was nobody else to blame but their own infighting and the sheer incapability of the Gandhi family to exercise influence over either Huda or Kumari Shailja. And then what happened in Maharashtra, post that, everybody is convinced that June 2024 was an aberration.
Right.
It was not the norm. The norm is what is happening now.
The norm
Congress is back
now.
to losing states and losing how?
The Congress is back to losing states. Aditi Fadnis, Kejriwal has come out and said, I'm not going to have any truck with the Congress in this Delhi, which is literally the Aam Aadmi Party's bastion, its fortress. Now, Lalu Prasad Yadav has been making similar statements in Bihar as well. What is the going to be really rough for the Congress? Look into a crystal ball for us. 2025, the Congress in these two very crucial state elections in Bihar and of course, in the national capital.
Is it surprising that Arvind Kejriwal, who is currently holding the chief ministership should say that we are ready to go on our own, and we are not interested in having any kind of alliance. It's not really surprising at all. Uh, just look at the recent concessions that the Congress has made to alliance partners. It decided that it would not contest a single bypoll in UP, leaving the field free for Samajwadi Party, and recognizing that the Samajwadi Party is better placed to win the election. It's another matter that Samajwadi Party was not able to put up a particularly good performance in UP. So I mean, we've seen the record of parties who are now seeking to usurp the Congress position, such as it is in the India Alliance. We've seen their record in states where they are not there. I mean, we've seen the record of Trinamool Congress in Goa. We've seen the record of Trinamool Congress in Haryana and other states. So, frankly, I mean, the Congress is still a national party. It has done badly in the state elections. But I'm not sure if it would be wise to completely write them off as people who are of no consequence whatsoever.
No, absolutely. They can never be written off. And I guess that's why the BJP, Brijesh, has been very careful in targeting them right from the beginning, because they know they are the only party that has the capability to stand up to the BJP. But having said that, the two elections that are just a few months away, one is, of course, Delhi, and the other one is Bihar. What's your forecast for the Congress? What is likely to be the Congress's strategy in these two states? Very crucial elections for the Congress.
Well, I think, the Congress would be party number 3 in Delhi.
Right.
Because I think Arvind Kejriwal is the strongest party. Aam Aadmi Party is the best placed as far as election in Delhi is concerned.
For a decade.
There for a decade, though they are facing internal problems because people whose ticket have been cut. For the first time, you are hearing rebellion within the party and people making noises against Kejriwal and all. And the BJP is going all out to make sure that they are able to dent Kejriwal's political fortune. But they're right now the best party, the best placed party as far as Delhi is concerned. The BJP is much better than Congress as far as Delhi is concerned. Though, I mean, Congress, Delhi also used to be a Congress bastion, but now they have been reduced to a poor number 3. If you look at Bihar, they can be a party of any reckoning only if they are using the crutches of RJD. Otherwise, on their own, they don't stand much of a chance. And I think, many people were surprised when Lalu Prasad Yadav, when the question was asked that do you agree with the Mamata Banerjee or TMC saying that Mamata should replace Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi, I beg your pardon, Lalu Prasad Yadav in his tongue-in-cheek remarks said, Congress kaun pooch raha hai, Mamata karegi. Because Lalu is a very staunch Gandhi loyalist for a very long time. For him to say also indicates the kind of hard bargain RJD is going to give to Congress in the assembly election. I think that's the best indicator and the most early indicator of how things are going to be as far as Bihar is concerned.
Totally. Lalu Yadav, indicating what his stance is going to be in 10 months from now or less. In fact, probably in the next 9 months, the RJD is going to play hard to get, play a hard bargain for the Bihar elections. Aditi Fadnas, you believe Lalu Prasad Yadav's statements on this were an indication of what is to follow in the months ahead for the Bihar elections?
Sure. I mean, Lalu Yadav has been a very staunch, as Brijesh said, a very staunch supporter of the Congress, specifically of the Nehru Gandhi family. But when it comes to elections, he is a very hard bargainer. He will fight a very tough poll. And Congress's record in Bihar has been steadily eroded for the past more than 20 years. So I don't think the Congress will put up impossible demands before Lalu Prasad. And I mean, these are all things, negotiating or bargaining tactics before an election. You will find perhaps that when the election comes around, it will be smoother than we are seeing now. Or we are anticipating now.
Absolutely. But Brijesh, there is that memory of 2020 where the Congress won just 19 out of the 70 seats that it contested, and it denied Tejasvi Yadav the chance to become possibly one of India's youngest chief ministers. Do you think he's going to forget that?
Well, I mean, in politics, nobody hold. The only thing which is permanent is interest.
Right.
So if interest suits, I mean, you have seen how Nitish Kumar, the kind of flip-flop he has done, and he has still be the most strongest contender for the post of chief ministership.
Right.
What is interesting is that, as Aditi ma'am was saying, that, just, a day before the statement of Lalu Prasad Yadav, one of the Congress top leader went to Bihar, I think it's state president, and he made a statement that, the Congress is thinking of contesting so many seats and things like that, indicating that, that they will be asking for X more than that. And, the next morning, Lalu Prasad's statement came and everybody went on a damage control mode in the Congress party saying, no, we meant this and that. So I don't think that, the Congress will be in any position to drive any kind of bargain. If they're trying to ask for impossible, then they'll be shown the door. So I think Congress also is aware of the reality of where it stands vis-a-vis Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. And the RJD is going to play the role of big brother, and the Congress will get tickets, but I think only as per the kind of strength they have in small pockets of Bihar, and not a pan Bihar gig.
So the Congress is the small brother in all of the states, and it's big brother in the center. But even in the center, where it's the single largest party, of course, it doesn't seem to be any better than it was a few years back. What is likely the strategy? I know this is a long time away. 2029 is almost 4.5 years away. What is likely to be the Congress's strategy for 2029?
Well, if you ask me, I think the biggest challenge for the Congress party and the best strategy for the Congress party would be to rebuild its organization in crucial states like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar and Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh.
It's non-existent.
But it's non-existent. I mean, you cannot think of coming back to power or being in a position to shape the destiny of things to happen in the country and all, and to shape the political discourse. You have to have a strong presence in both of these states. But look at the Hindi heartland. I mean, the Congress is nowhere there. I mean, the seats it has won in Uttar Pradesh, they are all because of piggy banking on the popularity and the might of the cadre of Samajwadi Party, and not the other way around. And that chink in the armor is now in a full visible display. And this is the reason why you see, when the Congress is going after Adani, and we want to expose the relationship of Adani with the Prime Minister and all. I mean, they find themselves also isolated, because Samajwadi Party is saying, why are you talking about Adani? It is not reaping you any kind of electoral benefit. Why don't we talk about Sambhal, which could be politically more relevant issue? Trinamool Congress is singing a different tune completely, not in sync with the Congress Party. So I think nobody is taking Congress Party seriously.
Nobody's taking the Congress Party seriously, and the India Alliance also doesn't seem to be taking itself very seriously. Given
I was talking only of India Alliance.
Given the diverse voices that they're all speaking in, no one really speaks for the India Alliance. It seems that it's all individual parties. And Aditi, this thing of the rebuilding of the Congress, I mean, that is possibly, we've been hearing of it for over a decade now. Is there any chance in the next couple of years that the Congress would actually seriously attempt a rebuild the party organization, or will it fall back on the family as it's always been the case?
Look, in the past 30 years that I have been watching Indian politics, more than 30 years actually, I have seen the Congress in various phases, in various avatars, in various incarnations, all of which have coincided with in Hindi literature, it's called Desh Kal Vatavaran. When you analyze the situation, it has to be according to the place where it's happening, it has to be according to the time or the time period, the background time that it's happening, and it has to be according to the atmosphere in which the context in which it is taking place. First of all, 2029, who will Rahul Gandhi be pitted against? Will it be Prime Minister Narendra Modi, or will it be somebody else in the BJP? Because the issue of succession in the BJP is also an open question. A lot depends on that. Secondly, I think the Congress keeps on reinventing itself. It keeps on especially when in times when it's facing defeat, electoral defeat particularly, it keeps on rethinking its strategies about how to make itself more appealing to voters. So part of that was Rahul Gandhi's Padayatras, and we've seen the result of that in the Lok Sabha election, along with a number of other factors.
Absolutely.
So it's not a static thing. I don't think the Congress is a moribund, dead party. It is live and kicking, and we also have to see who the projected leader of the Congress is going to be now that Priyanka Gandhi Vadra is in Lok Sabha. What is going to happen? Is there going to be a balance of power? Is there going to be a clash of power? Because that has been the bane of the Congress.
Live and kicking, the Congress is, and of course it's walking as well. Once in a while, Rahul Gandhi embarks on a Bharat Jodo Yatra, but that's done great for his personal brand, Rahul, but hasn't done much for the party. Why is it, Brijesh, that the Congress is unable to pick issues, like you correctly mentioned, that issues that find traction with the people? Adani hasn't got them any traction. Why are they so out of sync with the kind of issues that people would want to hear about?
Well, I think, I think, I mean, there must be a dearth of either advisors or an absolute lack of resistance from Rahul Gandhi.
Right.
Otherwise, when you have an issue, you can't be one trick pony.
Yes.
You realize that, the Soot Boot Ki Sarkar, or that they may be good for, newspapers headline or
Yes.
television headlines saying that, oh, Soot Boot Ki Sarkar and the Modi government is on the back foot and this and that, and Adani government is facing the heat and all. Where is the heat? I mean, where is the electoral conversion of the issues which you are raising? The issue of this constitution, where they raised this issue and they went in tandem with Samajwadi Party and others. Look at the kind of dividends they reaped. But it's like, again, then when you are fighting an assembly election, you can't have one election which found such great resonance in Lok Sabha, finding an equal resonance in assembly election.
Right.
That was not the case. And the second thing is, first you get power and then you be very, ultra confident. Right. I can understand that, but the kind of strategy we saw in Haryana and also in Maharashtra, you didn't have the party in place, but there were already talks of who's going to be the chief minister, who's going to be the deputy chief minister, who's going to get what, which camp is going to get how many ministries. The end result was the party is still sitting in opposition, and that came in for very sharp criticism by all the opposition parties that the Congress's biggest enemy is Congress itself and nobody else. Similar kind of thing happened in Maharashtra. So they will have to get their act together. They have to find issues which find resonance on the ground, people connect to it. I mean, the reason why I'm saying this is that, what in 2024, Sandeep, nobody would have, nobody was willing to give BJP any less than, minimum was 300. They say, kitna bhi jeetegi, 300 se to kam nahi jayegi. And look at the kind of performance which the opposition put up. They brought BJP, the mighty BJP, I would say, and Prime Minister to 240. And the BJP was a subdued lot for the next 5 months. The Prime Minister was all of a sudden very conciliatory in his approach and, the lack of aggression in the language. All of that changed in Haryana. They can't get, they have zero hold over the regional Kshatrabs. We saw what gentlemen in Rajasthan did, Ashok Gehlot did. They completely refuted what Bhupender Singh Hooda and Kumari Shailja did in Haryana and also in the state of Maharashtra. If you can't get the party together, how do you intend to be a big force as far as Indian politics is concerned?
Especially at the centre, Brijesh, and possibly the Congress needs to take a leaf out of what the BJP did post the Lok Sabha elections, where they literally put their heads down and worked, and they worked, and it seems to have delivered results in Haryana and then Maharashtra. But that's the reason for the Congress being cornered right now on multiple fronts. That's a story that we've been tracking for several months now. Thank you very much, Brijesh and Aditi Fadnavis, for joining us this evening.